Let us pray. Eternal God, our Father, we come now, God, asking that you would look upon this parish president and this entire body. Father, we ask, dear God, that you would allow this agenda to go forward, God, that it would be done decently and order. God, that you would allow peace and respect to abide. And then, God, we ask that you would govern our minds and our hearts. Father, that you would get the glory. We ask now these and all blessings in the name of your darling Son, Jesus. Let us all say, Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Reverend Smith. I need a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the regular meeting of October 7th. I have a motion by Ms. Skiba, second by Mr. Bruyere. Please cast your votes.
Can you state it verbally?
Mr. Walter?
I said yeah. Maybe it didn't sign in.
No, you got it.
Just state your vote.
Yay.
Yay. Mr. P.A. says yay.
And Mr. Bruyere.
And Mr. Bruyere is yay. Mr. Bruyere, yay. Okay, and that motion passes unanimously with Councilmember Carmondale absent for the evening. All right, special business, proclamations, canvass returns, etc. 2024-0335 is a proclamation, is the Ark Fall Fest and Trunk or Treat in St. Charles Parish. Ms. Skiba.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Proclamation. Whereas the Ark of St. Charles is a nonprofit organization committed to providing services and support that enable people of all ages with developmental and intellectual disabilities and special needs to attain their potential. And whereas the Ark strives to promote and maintain a high level of professionalism in all areas, and to maximize all resources, human and financial, in the interest of helping all persons with intellectual and developmental disabilities and special needs. And whereas the annual Ark Fall Fest and Trunk or Treat is being held on October 24th, 2024, from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Ark of St. Charles main campus, 13771 Old Spanish Trail in Butte. And whereas proceeds from ArkFest benefit the participants and services of the Ark of St. Charles. Now therefore be it resolved, we, the members of the St. Charles Parish Council and the Parish President, do hereby proclaim October 24th, 2024 as Ark Fall Fest and Trunk or Treat in St. Charles Parish, and encourage all citizens in the parish to attend the festival at the Ark of St. Charles in Butte. And I think we have, I know we have some representatives from the ARC, Ms. Victoria Bryant, Maggie Guidry, and Lauren Collins to accept.
Take the. One more.
I would just like to say thank you on behalf of the Ark of St. Charles and invite you all to celebrate with us on October the 24th. This Thursday for our annual Trunk or Treat. We'll have a lot of food vendors there and lots of games and activities for the kids, so you all are invited. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you, Ms.
you.
Bryan. Okay, 2024-0336 is a proclamation, National First Responders Day in St. Charles Parish. Ms. Skiba.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Proclamation. Whereas National First Responders Day was first recognized by Congress in 2017 to honor first responders, including firefighters, police, emergency medical technicians, 911 operators, paramedics, and other emergency personnel, and all those who are first on the scene in stressful situations. And whereas first responders stand on the front lines of our communities, selflessly serving and protecting our citizens in times of crisis. And whereas first responders respond swiftly and courageously to emergencies, often putting their own lives at risk to ensure the safety and well-being of others, whether in natural disasters, accidents, medical emergencies, or public health and safety threats. And whereas first responders respond to emergencies without hesitation when the call of duty arises, and tirelessly give their time and energy, making themselves available every hour of the day, every day of the year. And whereas National First Responders Day is an important day as it reminds us of the sacrifice first responders face every time they step out into the front lines. It is a day for them to bask in their heroism when they put others' lives ahead of their own, and get to share the joy with teammates and take a moment to feel appreciated. And whereas the services, dedication, and commitment of first responders deserve to be recognized and honored. Now therefore be it resolved, we the members of the St. Charles Parish Council and the Parish President do hereby support, recognize, and honor all of our first responders of St. Charles Parish on October 28th, 2024, National First Responders Day in St. Charles Parish. And I believe we have Chief Deputy Joe Gano here, and Huey Marcel, and Matt Alshouse, I don't want to say it wrong, to accept.
Right, wait. Chief. First with this, then my camera.
First of all, I'd like to thank you guys for obviously honoring us. It's our absolute honor to serve the citizens of St. Charles Parish, and I think I speak for all first responders, as we do not do this for any type of recognition. We do it because we love our community and we want to serve our community. So to have this opportunity, obviously, you don't want to get up here and speak and want the attention, but we do appreciate the honor and the proclamation for sure. So thank you all very, very much.
Matt, you don't want to come up? You? Come on up. Yeah, we invited y'all to come to the party. Let's go.
Mr. Fisher, put me on the spot. No, thank you all sincerely for recognizing the first responders. I think a lot of people don't really know what it entails to be a first responder. It is a calling, a true calling. This is not for the faint of heart. It's not for everybody. You know, some of the things that we see is not meant for normal people to see, and just things that we deal with. So it really, it means a lot to work in a parish where our community truly appreciates us, and so does our parish administration. So thank you all, and you know, even more so for, you know, our firemen. I mean, majority of our firemen are volunteers, so that's no paycheck involved at all, but they do it because they want to help, because they love it. So thank you all, appreciate it.
And I'd just echo what Joe and Huey said. You know, we like to stay humble within what we do. And again, just on behalf of the fire departments within St. Charles Parish, thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Reports, finance, administrative activities. 2024-0337, Department of Public Works, Mr. Bingham.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Council, Mr. Parish President, Mr. Jewell. I think you all have heard a lot from me recently at some committee meetings, so tonight I'm not going to cover any of my projects, so that hopefully this will go a little bit faster. So here's our agenda. We'll go over a little bit of our organization, cover our Public Works work order system, talk about our pump stations, talk a little bit about Hurricane Francine, and then our MS4 department, which does not get a lot of attention, and then our pavement management program, which I did something on this last year, but I noticed that we have 6 new people, so I'd like to go through it again. And then there's a little bit about our Public Works. This is our organization. We have 231 total positions. We currently have 198 employees. That changes almost daily as we hire people and people move on to other jobs. You can see what the openings are there we have. Okay, go on. There we go. Did I go one too far? Hold on. Go back one. This is what we currently have open in positions. You will notice at the bottom it says that we have 12 that we are reevaluating. That is jobs that we are trying to figure out whether we really need to actually fill the position. And that's one way that we can look at saving money. So people should look at this. One of our biggest needs is mechanics. So here's our work order reports. This is what we've done in the first 3 quarters of the year. 13,847 work orders completed. 12,234 of those have been on our pump stations. That's because everything that we do in our pump station generates a work order. The work order numbers for the drainage heavy equipment and west and east bank road crews also include completed jobs. So they don't get as many things done because their work is a little bit more, takes a little bit more time. So on our pump stations, these are our pump stations on the east bank. As you can see, we have 24 total stations, 63 total pumps. 14 are on SCADA, and as we talked, we're trying to get the others also on SCADA. We can pump 2.6 million gallons on the east bank. On the west bank, we have 34 total stations, 91 pumps, 17 on SCADA, and 3.1 million gallons that we can pump. And one thing I did this year that I thought would be interesting for you all is to see where those pump stations are. I've color-coded it so you can see what's in each district, so that gives us a clear understanding of where our effort is. We do have a lot of pump stations on the West Bank. Some of them are smaller that pump to a bigger pump station. Another improvement that we're working on right now, this is showing our telemetry for our Destrehan number 1 pump station. We are creating an on switch where we can flip a switch and it will take us to a lower level for our pump stations. This would be done in emergency situations when we know a storm is coming, and we can then lower our level in our sumps and also our canals. We don't want to keep it that way because if we keep it too low, the canals start to cave in and we have problems with our pump stations. But if we take it to a lower level knowing a storm is coming in, we can then be ready for that storm and we can actually accept a lot more water that way. I also wanted to show a lot of our pump station upgrades, and we have a lot of work to be done on pump stations coming up. I'll let you just read that. I'm not going to read that off. Hurricane Francine Public Works response. some of our hurricane preparations that we've been doing, we used to spend a lot of time down in Zalman's putting up HESCO baskets. What we saw was a great savings in time by not having to do that during this last storm. The Zalman's bulkhead has paid dividends already in what we've done. We literally only had to set up some protection at the boat launch and do some flood fighting where we haven't put down the bulkhead. So our crews were able to do some of the other things, which is do more work looking at watersheds and preparing for the storm. Another success was Destrehan number 2, and I know Councilman Pillier talked about this. Now that station is fully operational, but it can now accept a lot more water. It has a much bigger sump. And I think we were able to see that in the way it worked before. So I think those two things are showing already our benefit for what we've gotten. Our Public Works MS4 department doesn't get a lot of attention. And I wanted to bring them up because people don't maybe fully understand what they do. One of the things they do is they keep us in LDEQ compliance. So we had our permit renewal this year. And for the second time, and so we get that every 5 years, for the second time, we got a no violations found by LDEQ during their review. This is very rare. It's not something that you see very often. They usually find some nitpicky thing that they want to say that you've done wrong. So I wanted to bring this up. We also got a grade of 5, which is the highest, very reliable. About the only thing that they have said that we really need to look at is looking at getting a MS4 inspector for new subdivisions and other things like that. We also upgraded all of our pump station spill plans. This is something that we were in need of doing. It keeps us in compliance with LDEQ, the fire marshals, and the state police review those things. The plans are for the East and West Bank yards, and the director's office were also updated. And MS4 department updated these plans for all the pump stations in the parish. So that's an important thing. We have some of the other things that MS4 does. They look at all the aspects of ground and surface water. They handle spill plans, compliance and remediation. They respond to all of when we have a spill. And I'm going to show you one of those spills right now. On the left, you can see what the spill looked like. The white stuff you see in the water is booms that collects and soaks up the oil or the spill. And on the right, you can see where they've actually got the spill cleaned up. All right, pavement maintenance program. I know I got asked this question during one of our committee meetings. The pavement maintenance program, we updated it this year, and we went through what I've got on the right is how many streets were in our very poor to our excellent, where each one was, and what the nature of each one of those is, meaning concrete, asphalt, or limestone. The state transportation fund provides $500,000 per year for milling and paving roads. The parish needs to select the roads using an approved rating system. And I'm going to show you that rating system in just a second. The system being used by the parish rates the roads on a scale of 1 to 30. The parish tries to select roads that have a rating of more than 10, and you can see that we have about, only a certain group above that. So here's the rating system, whereas we usually use the surface condition and maybe some other things. They have a lot of other things involved, such as emergency, are there emergency vehicles that use it? Are there schools on that road? The number of houses that are on the road. So there are a lot of things that they go into it. And what it breeds, what I've found is that you can get the same rating on roads that have very different features on their surface. All the streets that I put on in this thing have a rating of 13 by that rating system. But if you look at the condition of the actual roadway itself, there's one that's poor, one that's fair, and one that's good. And it doesn't make sense to be doing a good road when it's got even though it's got a rating of 13, if we have others that are equal with a lower level. So this year, one of my goals was to actually start eliminating our very poor and our poor streets. So we have 2 very poor streets, 1 asphalt and 1 concrete. 19 poor streets, 8 asphalt, 9 concrete, and 2 limestone. And then we have 7 limestone streets that we're considering how to improve them so that we don't have to deal with it anymore. These are the streets. A lot of them are going to be taken care of in our asphalt or concrete maintenance programs this year. The annual concrete maintenance contractor has already repaired 2 of the concrete streets on the poor list. We've got the big project going on over off of Paul Mallard, where we're going to repair 1 very poor street and 5 poor concrete streets. And if we have funds available, we will be doing 2 additional concrete streets on the poor list that are there. We also have the asphalt maintenance program, which will be coming out very soon. That has 1 very poor and 5 poor asphalt streets that we will fix. 2 poor asphalt streets, Kindler and Paul Frederick, from Brooklyn to Hackberry, will have a project dedicated to their repair, and we will be doing those after we finish the drainage repairs. And we've also been looking at our limestone streets, and we've cored those to find out how much actual limestone we have there, so we can see if we can mill down a little bit of that and put asphalt paving on top of it. So I said I wasn't going to talk very much about the Public Works capital projects, but I did want to put up the list because I think it's important for people to be able to see how much work we did this last year. We did about $62 million in road work, and I included a roadway and drainage work. I included the Zalman's boat launch road, which will be turned over to Public Works to complete and also for maintenance, and the Sunset bar screens that also will be returned over to Public Works at the end of the day. And then our future capital projects, this is what we anticipate getting done next year. And you can also see that we have continued to get a fair amount of grant money, and we're getting a lot of bang for our buck, and we should be doing about $52 million for that. So I always like to leave with something at the end of the thing that makes people think, and that says, if Rome was built in a day, we would have used the same contractor. So do you have any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Webb. I knew we waited long enough. Mr. Daniels.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Bingham, I've looked at the history of Public Works closed orders, 2022, 2023, and 2024. Are you anticipating a little bit more activity in District 5 in this coming year?
You're talking about on work orders?
Work orders in general? I mean, we don't have many outstanding.
No, you don't. We have a crew assigned to each of, there are 4 crews per side of the river. They are assigned an area. There is actually 1 crew that is assigned to St. Rose. And he works in that. He is probably one of our better foremen, and he keeps on top of his work orders. So a lot of times you won't see a lot of outstanding work orders in your district because he takes care of them as they come in. I would say our areas where we have the most work orders going on both sides of the river are Mimosa and Norco. We routinely see that we have far more work orders in those areas. And there are occasions where we actually have to take a crew from one of the areas that doesn't have as many and move them into that area to try and help lower that number. But we do not keep them out too long. We try and get them back into their area so that they can do that. If there are more work orders, we will certainly keep the person there and get them done.
Right, well, I'm trying to crack the code and figure out how the process works in order to get things into work orders. Doing the numbers, if you subtract the amount of work orders from the pump stations versus the outstanding work orders for the entire parish, you come up with about 1,600 work orders in 2024 so far. If I take the work orders that were closed in District 5, which are 14, and subtract out what really aren't in District 5, that's subtract 2, and then subtract 2 no action, and 1 that was done by a resident, I come up with 9 work orders for 2024, and I feel like I must be missing something. So that's why I'd like to get some more communication. We're talking about communication. So I
Sure.
know more is going on out there. And I need to be able to tell my residents what's happening, because when I look at this piece of paper, it indicates that nothing's going on or very little's going on, and that's not true. So how do I get additional information from your department in order to be able to understand what's going on in my district?
Yeah, I heard your concerns during our committee meeting, and I'm going to talk to my staff about how we can better relate what work orders are getting done in a month in each council district, because I think that's what is kind of, and possibly, it's very hard for us to plan ahead and with any accuracy. We get emergencies, we get other things that come up. So we try and plan a week ahead. If we try and plan 2 weeks ahead, I can tell you that the second week, it won't look anything like that when we get it to the first week. So what I want to try and do is get you all more data on what we're completing in your district, and I think that would help.
Yeah, I'm not trying to keep a complete thumb on you, but when I look at open and closed, and I do know that there are things that need to be done, but they didn't make it on the open or the closed list, I'm just trying to sort all that out so I understand the process better. And I look forward to working with you on that.
All right, thank you.
Ms. Fonseca.
I just wanted to point out, I don't know if you're looking at work orders for just District 5 or all the districts, but, quantity is not necessarily indicative of what's involved in each work order. Some can be as simple as go straighten a sign, go replace a sign, things like that. So one district may have a lot of those smaller, easier to close work orders. Another district may not, may have more complex issues, as I think District 5 does have. When you look at work order quantities, I know some council members have them on their web pages. Quantity is not indicative of the actual work involved. Thank you.
Mr. Jewell.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I'm showing 39 that were opened just this year, 73 closed within the last year. This is obviously a little bit old, but, and this is, you can see it's anything from digging ditches to replacing street signs, installing culverts, replacing sidewalks, removing illegally installed culverts, removing illegal dumping, debris. So, I would say that I obviously don't think that the arithmetic is correct, that there was 9, and I think Donrell would most certainly disagree. And if that's the case, we could be using him somewhere else if there's nothing left to do in that district. But I think that when you look at Donrell and his crew and the stuff that he is getting done, there is a significant amount of work being done there. And listen, I know that there was some recent flooding there, and we've talked about the fact that that I think that the amount of rain that they've gotten in St. Rose this year has been more than they've gotten in most recent years before this. So I know that there's kind of a big push right now, and you're probably feeling some pressure from the residents to say, well, that the drainage is worse or it's gotten worse, but I really just don't think that's the case. I think that we have a couple of cases of pump stations being overrun by the amount of rain that we've gotten, and I think that our crews are doing a good job of staying on top of this. And I would tell you that if you have any additional things that you think need to be done, to just work with me, and we will make sure that they get put in as work orders right away. And Like I said, we had a good meeting last week that allowed us to prioritize some of the things you'd like to see done right away. And it sounds like one of those is already happening today.
Mr. Daniels.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate that, President Jewell. What I was trying to say is that the information I got from our meeting, I don't believe it's completely accurate. It's about communication, and so if I didn't want to drill down on this, but I will. Drainage for 2024 with this list, which I don't think is necessarily accurate, but this is all I have, is that a catch basin was replaced and bridle path lane was dug between 19 and 21. That's it for 2024. 2 things in 2023 and 2022. So it's not just about numbers, it's not just about counting, and it's not about what's on my webpage. It's about trying to figure out what is actually happening, and apparently President Jewell has access to additional information that I don't have, and that's what I look forward to getting from the department.
And
Appreciate you.
that's what I was saying. When I heard what you all said during the committee meeting, and I plan to talk to my staff about what report we can create that we can get to the council so that they can see what is happening in their district. And it'll have to be an after-action thing where you can see these work orders were done in your district during this last month. And I think we can generate that, and I think that would help you.
Right. Thank you.
And we are now, every month, sending Michelle what work orders were sent in, opened and closed, and what's remaining open by district. So there was a whole lot more than 9 on that list last time, so I don't know what list. From who?
I think I forwarded that list.
Okay, yeah.
I know it's not correct. I'm trying to figure out how to get correct information.
Ms. Wilson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I think as far as like for my district, in the foreman that works in my district, which is, they're real good, the workers. When I do look at the daily report, it'll pretty much state where they are. So there are times when I may ride up and just say, what y'all doing today, or, what's going on. So he would actually say that, hey, I saw something and I went ahead and I put in, and I did this and did that. So there are times when, there are many things that I don't see that they see. So as far as the work orders, I can understand, my numbers may be high or maybe, medium or whatever, but I can say that the foremans do, put in orders, stuff that we don't know because they've seen things because they're out in the field. So even though you don't see the work as far as on the paper, I don't even know how they recorded. They may even just go ahead and do the work. I'm not sure if they report that they're doing this work order or something like that, but there is work that's being done in all of our districts.
When they do a work order like the one that you're talking about where they see something in the field, they will create a work order from the field. We have multiple ways that we get work orders put into our system. It can come through a portal that they already do have, which logs residents saying, hey, I've got a pothole here, I need this there. We get those, they go into our system. We can get them from the parish president's office because people will call the parish president. All the council, some of you send them to Michelle. Michelle sends us those council requests. There's sometimes when you all call me or one of my staff, Brandon Bernard, who's my second, he does. We will get those in the work order system as well. We do our best to try and handle wherever they come from to get them into our system. And something that was said earlier, when we started, we had paper work orders. And those paper work orders were not organized at all. They were everywhere. So we had no way of knowing what we had. We now have an organized system where we can track and see work orders. So I feel like we've made big steps already, but there's still steps to go to make this the work order system that we need it to be, so it's more transparent and you all can see what you need to see.
Mr. Jewell.
I was just going to reiterate what Miles said. I think probably the majority of the work orders that get generated comes from our own people. you know, our road crews go out and they're doing work, and while they're sweeping a ditch, they see a sinkhole. And so that sinkhole becomes a separate work order. Or our QAs go out to go investigate something, and in the process of trying to figure out maybe what's slowing the drainage on this one street in this one area, inspecting the entire street, they realize, hey, there's 3 collapsed culverts here. And so you get 3 separate work orders put in. And so, like I said, I'm going to go back in and work with Brandon and see what he's looking at, because I forwarded you what I had as far as currently opened work orders. You know, like I said, I think that the majority of them come in from our employees ourselves. Probably the second is from the public, from calls and stuff to Public Works, and then, you know, from council requests and whatnot.
Thank you, Mr. Jewell. Miles, I do have one more question for you.
Yes, sir.
And I think we pretty much got that. So here's an example we got from Simone today, right? So today's work orders. So Irvin, which is one of my guys, so him and his crew today, they were trimming trees on Ormond Village, River Point, River Village, and Ormond Meadows. Somebody generated a work order for that, right?
Yes, sir. That's
That's how
correct.
they had to go out there and get scheduled, so.
Well, sometimes that comes from the school system saying that their buses are hitting certain trees in certain places. So we will go out and trim the trees, you know, check the elevation of the tree branches and take the lead, trim the trees. And I want to say this, my foreman and my superintendents in the yards are fantastic people. They work very hard, and their heart is in the right place, and they do a lot of work to try and make this parish a better place. And I want to give them kudos for that effort, because they are fantastic people.
Yeah, guys, yeah. And like I said, hopefully we can fill those yellow spots sooner or later, so. Thank you, Miles.
Thank you,
Appreciate
sir.
it. All right, next up, 2024-0338, the Department of Wastewater, Mr. David Daenerys.
Thank you, sir, for having me, council. Appreciate you inviting me here, President Jewell. Wastewater, not assigned as Public Works, it's the brown lumpy water. So. So our goal is really to treat the wastewater the most economical way possible. Basically, keep it out of your house, keep it off the ground, and in the pipe is our primary mission. To do that, we're doing some improvements at all the plants right now to make them more energy efficient. Most of the plants are 25 years old. Some of the lift stations are 50-plus years old. We've changed pumps out in them, but those systems are deteriorating. There is a very high corrosive gas, H2S, that releases from wastewater that does damage those stations. So when you get 150 years old, there's parts that aren't made for those stations anymore, so that's where you're seeing some of these stations starting to get replaced. The replacement cost is somewhere between $750,000 to $1 million. With 208 stations, it's hard to get all of them. So if we could get 3 or 4 a year, we'll slowly make it, but it's very costly. And money is, I don't make as much money as Public Works, but we are trying to do the most that we can with what we have. So like we said, we have 208 lift stations, 82 can stations. Those are individual stations basically down on the island and all that we maintain. 4,300 plus manholes, and then the 211 miles of gravity lines and 119 miles of force mains. That's another problem with the lines. A lot of the stuff done, if you look at it, early 40s to 60s was clay terracotta pipe. There's still some of that here in the parish. They went to AC pipe, which is asbestos coated concrete pipe. That over time is probably the 70s, 80s. It gets brittle. It starts to break. We've had one line on Texaco Road that's broken 7 times in the last 2 years. The cost to repair that is about $20,000 to $25,000 a pop every time that breaks. So that's a costly thing for us. So we're looking to manage and replace some of these old AC lines right now, try to line some of the old terracotta lines. And, you know, the new technology is polyethylene and PVC pipes. So a lot of the newer subdivisions and all that are coming online, they have those newer pipe systems in there.
We have gone and changed where we have allowed zero infiltration in new subdivisions, so we won't get that I&I that we've been getting in the past from the old terracotta lines and all that. Those joints separate over times and allow groundwater and rainwater to get in. So those are some of the things we're doing. We're doing a pipelining program that is trying to eliminate a lot of that infiltration. So little by little, it's very costly, but little by little, we're trying to attack it. We have three plants. We have the Destrehan plant. This one is designed to treat 6 million gallons a day. And you can see that's about 11.24 million gallons we treat in 2024, which is right around 3 million gallons a day is what that current plant is treating right now. So it is allow for future expansion on the East Bank. So we do have room. And there, our biggest problem is getting it to the plant. Our collection system is undersized in a lot of areas, so we are doing some improvements. We are planning on doing a new force main project from the St. Rose area and bring it to the plant, which would help eliminate some of the flooding or the overflows and all that we have in that area. So we are making slow progress where we might be able to expand, allow some commercial development on Long Airline Highway and stuff further out that way. So we are trying to do some projects to improve that. The Hahnville plant, 2.3 million gallons. This is one that we're moving forward to up the capacity of this plant. We're looking to go to 4 MGD. If you look at that 844, that roughly is right at 2.3 million gallons. So that plant is really at capacity right now, and that shows why we needed to do an improvement. So we're just now finishing up the comments from the engineer to get them under contract to go ahead and start the design for the new plant. So it's really going to take half of the plant and convert it to an MBR plant, which would increase our capacity to around 4. And we won't need a bigger footprint. We're actually going to go to a smaller footprint to treat more water. The oxidation pond is, so we have 2 plants on the West Bank. One is at 2.3, this one's at 3 MGD. And we're currently treating around 2.5 million gallons per day. We have done some improvements here. We have another project slated on here for the discharge. This pond's unique. We discharge out into the wetlands, so it's wetland assimilation. So it's treated at the pond, and then you have a high nutrient loading that goes out into the marsh, which is really good for your marsh. It's been determined from studies and all like that, the rich nutrient water that we discharge in the marsh, the tupelo gum and the cypress trees, they show that their growth rate increases by like 3-fold compared to a control area that doesn't get the high nutrient water in there. So that helps to grow that. You know, with sea level rise, you're going to start seeing a lot of these swamps go underwater completely. I mean, a lot of these are, but it's going to get worse and worse. So anything that we could do to put rich nutrient water to keep the vegetation growing. One of the things we're going to probably be doing in the future is doing some future planting. So we'll probably start planting cypress trees in some of the marshes that we're discharging to. We're actually looking to discharge into a different section now. So we're in negotiations to try to do that in the future as well, where we have 2 things where we might be able to get some drying times. We did see some drying when we had the drought, about 1.5 years ago. Some of the areas did start to dry up because there was just not enough water going through with drainage and all that. So we did see some of the marsh areas were drying up, which gives you that cycle where if cypress trees are dropping seedlings, you might see those seedlings start to grow. But you have to fight nutria and everything else out there that's tearing that up. So we do have to train all of our operators. So we have around 40 operators that hold license, and that's by the class there. That's a requirement of Department of Hospitals that we are required to have licensed operators. Our plants require them to have a license 4 to operate the plants, and all of our operators do have class 4s. This is a look ahead. The current projects, I know you've asked about the Ormond lift station. That's one of 3 on that particular project. There's 2 more on the East Bank that we're currently doing at the same time with the contractor. It's about 60% complete. It is moving slow. They've been having issues with getting supplies in. It's been a delay because of that. We should see some stuff moving pretty rapidly now. I think they got most of the piping in. I think at the end of the month, they're scheduled to get their liner to line all the new wet wells. And then from there, you should see a lot of progress here toward the end of the year, where we should be close to probably late January. I'm hoping that project should wrap up if we don't run into any more issues. Destrehan wastewater plant, y'all just approved that a couple meetings ago. There is a long lead time of equipment. It's right around 24 months, or 24 weeks is the short expectancy. If there's any delays, it could go to almost a year. So I'm hoping that we could get most of those supplies in the 24 weeks that they say that we should be able to get it. Muntz Norco lift station, this is 100% design. We're still having some permitting issues that we've been working through. All the levee districts, since it's so close to levees, they've asked for additional information, so that's taking a little bit longer to get. Same thing with Kindler. We're waiting on some servitude access or acquiring. I think we're in the process of doing that with legal right now. River Oaks is 100% design. I think we're pretty much ready to go. I think we'll see that one in the next month or so putting out to bid. New Sharpie transfer station. There's some property acquisitions on that one as well. That's holding that one up. The St. Rose Force Main, that one should be coming online when the new subdivision starts. It's really tying in to allow them to drain in and take a couple of the other subdivisions around it into a new force main. So they're not fighting the force main on the other side of the track. So that should be an improvement in that area. And then along with the additional one that we're doing is from our Turtle Pond lift station off of Almedia. That would get all the water that's coming from Airline Highway and all that. What happens is the Rue Landry on Wagon Train Lane and the lift station on 4th Street, during high rain events, those stations tend to overflow. I think if we could take that water and put it in a new force main, we won't see those problems anymore, and it should improve everything in the St. Rose area. The Hahnville plant, that one's coming online, and like we said, we're working on the putting the design packet right now. We just finished looking over the scopes. We're finalizing the scopes on those last projects right there. And then the future ones for next year are 3 more lift station rehabs that we're planning on doing. And that's about it for wastewater. One thing I will do say, we try to keep it in the pipe, but we do need citizens' help. Flushable wipes, they're flushable down the toilet, but they're very harmful to the rest of the system. Really, the only thing that should go in there is toilet paper. So don't dump grease down your kitchen sink, and try not to put anything else besides toilet paper in the toilets, because that causes problems down the line. You have those 208 lift stations. They have to go through pumps to pump it, and some of that stuff doesn't. Flushable wipes don't break down. They become a big old knot in the pump. So we have to pull that pump, clean it out, put the pump back in, but that's causing the overflows and things like that. So anything that citizens could do to not do that to help us out, that would be greatly appreciated.
Any questions for Dave? All right, thank you much, appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay, 2024-0339, the parish president's remarks and report. Mr. Jewell.
Thank you, Chairman. Let me find my binder here. Oh, it's right here. All right, first, we will talk about the Luling Business Park groundbreaking. Last week, we celebrated the start of construction on a new 125,000 square foot facility off of Judge Edward Dufresne Parkway. This is the first of 3 phases of this development, which will house up to 1 million square feet of manufacturing, distribution, and assembly space. Developers hope to have the first building completed for tenants in February of 2025. And the company is called Agile Coast, if you can't see it on that portion there. All right, Sunset Pump Station update. The crane is on site at Sunset Pump Station, and work will begin in November. If the crane looks familiar, it was just moved from the Destrehan to Pump Station site. So sea level construction, I think, has been working continuously in the parish for over a decade, because while they are working on a project in the parish, they win another project. And so we appreciate them sticking around and helping us complete some of these updates to parish infrastructure. Go look at the courthouse renovation updates. The renovations to the first floor stairwells and second floor ceiling in the courthouse are currently ahead of schedule. The clerk's office is coming along nicely, and they will have a beautiful new reception area at the front of it to serve residents and attorneys who come to file there. The ceiling work on the second floor is just about complete, as you saw coming in, and handrails will be added to the existing staircases to make them ADA compliant. Government Buildings is also working to brighten and modernize the staircases. Currently, the time frame for the completion, oh, I'm sorry, you can go back. Currently, the time frame for the completion of the courthouse is in the second week of December. Once this project is completed, the whole courthouse will have been renovated under Bob Messerly's tenure as Director of Government Buildings. All right, smart water installations. Pedal valves crews have been working to replace our system's remaining manual red meters. This final push is in St. Rose, Ama, and parts of Luling. The meters are a necessary step towards launching the mobile app, which will give residents more transparency on usage, leaks, as well as better customer service. The 4th Street asphalt repairs. Last week, our Public Works crews shut down 4th Street and St. Rose between River Road and Short Street to perform routine asphalt maintenance. Parts of the street crumbled on the edges and needed patching, so though that work was completed. Number one, First Street, First Cross Ditch in Ormond is underway. We're upgrading that ditch with two 48-inch culverts from Ormond Boulevard to Ormond Oaks Canal. Additionally, you can see the work has started on cleaning out the Ormond Oaks Canal. Again, this is always a tough project when we have to get in here because there is no access to it, so we have to get a small machine in the canal and work head on. St. Maria culvert replacements, that project is starting to wrap up. It's been going on over the last couple of months to replace collapsed culverts and improve drainage from Wanda to Cousins Canal. Last week, crews continued installing new corrugated pipe and poured 19 new concrete catch basins. Drainage maintenance continued in Hawnville, where Public Works crews in South Fashion cleared. We can go to the next one, Samantha. Public Works crews perform maintenance along South Fashion to clear overgrown ditches. This is an area that is influenced by tide, which is why you can see the lilies growing there. And so it's important that we get that type of vegetation out, but that we also not dig these ditches too deep, because then you kind of let the tide in if you get too far below grade. So a very delicate effort there to make sure that it gets done properly. Brian Henry and his crew do a great job. I think they have touched almost every single ditch from Hawnville, from Kelowna all the way to Fashion so far post-storm. And they've been working a lot on inspection and removal of debris post-Francine. All right, community services. We have tutoring available, as you can see on the screen. The Department of Community Services now offers tutoring and homework help at 3 community center facilities for families whose children are pre-registered at the community center they wish to attend. At the Kelowna Community Center, the Booty Outreach, as well as, Kelowna Community Center and Booty Outreach tutoring takes place from 4:30 to 5:30 Monday through Thursday. In St. Rose, tutoring occurs Tuesdays and Wednesdays from 5 to 6. East Bank Bridge Park Phase 1 construction kicked off last week at the East Bank Bridge Park, so we've had to close some of the park to accommodate the materials and the equipment. We are mirroring what was done at the West Bank Phase 1. East Bank Bridge Park will also get turf infield, scoreboard, LED lighting, tennis courts, new fencing, as well as 2 pickleball courts. In addition, the playing area improvements, we will concrete and stripe the parking lot along River Road, which should give us a few more spots. If you're familiar with that area, during big events, people do park outside of the park along the levee and in the median. So adding physical spots there, we know will give us extra space And we are doing it in a way which will allow for expansion of future parking there at the site. All right, Bethune Park is well underway as well. Fresh concrete has been poured for the walking paths, pavilions, and basketball courts. We hope to have this phase of the improvements done by the spring, and phase 2 will include a covering on the basketball court, as well as a new playground set that has been picked out and will be the Norco Booster Club colors. Junior Pelican League Combine basketball season is just around the corner, and Parks and Rec have partnered with the Pelicans to host a combine that allowed our young athletes to do the same drills that the pros do before they enter the WNBA or the NBA. We had a maximum of 125 participants registered and join us, and we hope to do this event again next year. Great event. Basketball coaching clinic. We aren't just getting our kids ready to hit the court, but we're also getting our coaches ready to lead those players for a successful season. The head basketball coach at Hornville and Destrehan will help our coaches learn and lead drills, as well as practice to make our players better. Sessions will be held on October 28th and October 30th, and coaches can sign up and attend one or both of those at scpparksandrec.com. Want to give a huge shout out to our team at Parks and Rec. This was something that I believe we added out of a request or feedback from residents and our volunteer coaches, where we had coaches who wanted to coach but may not have known everything that they needed to have a successful team, as well as the confidence to lead these kids. And so these coaches clinics really help them gain that confidence and help them lead their teams. We could not perform our recreation program without our volunteer coaches. So we're extremely grateful for them, and I'm extremely grateful for our recreation department for adding this to the lineup for our coaches. 2024 Fall Fest, hosted by the Council on Aging as well as Parks and Rec and RSVP, will be held on Thursday, October 31st from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Community Center. There's going to be bingo, a costume contest, door prizes, and music by Sonny Gullidge and the Blues Groovers. All residents age 55 and older are also invited to attend. This was a great event last year. The seniors went all out in their costumes. Was very, very entertaining to watch, and I think everybody had a great time. We're looking forward to that program and that event. Veterans Luncheon, our annual Veterans Luncheon will be held on Thursday, November 7th at the Community Center. All St. Charles Parish veterans, as well as their spouses, are welcome. The video of veterans photos was so popular last year that we wanted to continue that this year. So we're asking residents to send their service photo, as well as the name, the branch, and the rank, to our publicinfo@stcharlesgov.net. That's publicinfo@stcharlesgov.net by November 4th, so we can include that in this year's PowerPoint presentation that will roll through this event. That completes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Jewell. All right, next on our agenda, ordinance is introduced for publication and public hearing Tuesday, October 29th, 2024 at 9 a.m., Thursday, October 31st, 2024 at 1 p.m., and Monday, November 4th, 2024 at 6 p.m. in the council chambers in the courthouse in Hanville. 2024-0201 is an ordinance to approve and adopt the expropriation of funds for the St. Charles Parish Consolidated Operating and Capital Budget for fiscal year 2024. Ordinances and resolutions, 2025. Thank you, Ms. Empestad. Ordinances, resolutions introduced for publication, public hearing Monday, November 4th, 2024 at 6 p.m. in the council chambers in the courthouse in Hanville. 2024-0341, 2024-0342, 2024-0343. Copies have been made and placed at your folders. 2024-0344. Ordinance is scheduled for public hearings introduced at a previous meeting. 2024-0329, an ordinance approving and authorizing the execution of Amendment Number 1 to ordinance 21-8-16, which approved the professional services agreement with the Planis Design Group, DDG, to perform engineering services for the DeSalmons Boat Launch Project number P210705 to reallocate funds for the current and future boat launch project phases. Mr. Bingham.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is exactly what this says. They're moving a little bit of money around. They've designated what was spent in the first phases of the project and allocating the rest of the money to the final phases. There is no additional costs to the parish in doing this. It is just a matter of them designating where they're going to use the money.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Bingham. File number 2024-0329 is now open for public hearings. If does anyone like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. All right, seeing none, our public hearing is now closed. Any council discussion? Mr. Pillier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Carmadell, who's not here tonight, had asked if I could bring this up. I'm not sure how this fits into this particular motion, but he was hoping that he could make an impact on the actual design, and I'm not sure that can happen. Do you know something about it, Mr. Jewell?
I think he was looking at the size of the boats that we could launch there.
The length and possibly the breadth of the boat itself, yeah.
We had a meeting with Willie this morning in the conference room. Mike, I wasn't able to stay for the meeting, but Mike was there, and he met with the design team to talk about that as well.
So this was taken care of?
Yeah, well, he's satisfied with what we have designed. We are going right down to the bottom of the bayou, so depending on the water heights, those folks, we can accommodate the length of that boat.
Thank you, sir.
All right, any other council discussion? All right, seeing none, please cast your votes for file number 2024-0329. Doesn't have it.
I vote yea.
Ms. Fonseca votes yea. Who else we have? Mr. Pillier, your vote?
Yay.
Yay. And that motion passes unanimously. All righty. 2024-0330. It's an order to approve a purchase and/or expropriate a .31 acre temporary construction servitude for replacement parking over property now or formerly owned by S-1 Properties LLC for the Ormond Area Flood Mitigation CN Railroad Culvert Installation Project. Mr. Bingham.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is part of the Ormond Culvert project. We are going to displace some parking during construction so that we can get into that area. It's very tight behind those two businesses, and we need to find a place for them to actually park during that construction. This gentleman has been talked to with, and has agreed not to a fee or a number, but in general about letting us rent that property in a sense. The reason it's stated the way it is because we're having to follow the Uniform Code Act. And so we are doing that to the best of our ability, and we would appreciate your support in letting us move forward with entering a negotiation with this gentleman.
Thank you, Mr. Bingham. File number 2024-0330 is now open for public hearing. If there's anyone who'd like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. All right, seeing none, our public hearing is closed. Any council discussion? Mr. Pillier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Needless to say, I'm in support of this. I've got numerous neighbors. I mean, everybody in my neighborhood is affected by this jack and bore that is going to be enabled, as we discussed earlier. So I'm absolutely in support of this, and I hope everybody else can support it as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pillier. Any other council discussion? All right, seeing none, please cast your votes for file number 2024-0330.
I vote yea.
I have a yay vote for Ms. Fonseca. Ms. Skiba, how do you vote?
She's
Oh, she's on there.
Walter's not.
Mr. Perrier?
Yay. I don't even get a spring.
Mr. Perrier, yay.
We'll finish it out with verbal.
Perfectly, good job. So that motion passes unanimously. You want to try to reset, or you want to continue on?
We'll do verbal.
Okay, we can do verbal. All right, next on our agenda, 2024-0331, an ordinance to approve and authorize the parish president to execute an act of sale from One Buck Store LLC for the purchase of a property located at 15110 River Road in Honville in the amount of $735,000. Mr. Oob.
Thank you. As you'll see, this is in the ordinance, it lists the fact that for the property, the owner was asking a set value of $850,000. There were two appraisals which are noted in the ordinance, one by Mosaic and one by the value experts. Negotiations took place with the legal department, specifically Mr. Raymond, who's here to answer any specifics as to that, and a agreed-upon price of $735,000. You see in the purchase agreement attached in section 4D that, of course, that sale was conditioned upon approval by this council.
Thank you, Mr. Oob. File number 2024-0331 is now open for public hearing. If there's anyone else who would like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, our public hearing is now closed.
There's a blank speaker. Someone requested to speak, but it's blank. I can't see it.
Did anyone request to speak?
I requested to speak.
Yeah, we've got you, but there's a blank one.
I would like to.
Mr. Perrier.
Mr. Perrier?
Yes, about 6 or 8 weeks ago, Mr. Julie called me about this particular purchase. At the time, I wasn't highly endeared to it. But then I saw a request for executive order where funds were being moved from a West Bank Canal cleaning project and from a Monts Box culvert replacement drainage improvement to be able to fund the purchase of this building, which, as I read it, it just says for use, additional space for housing, parish departments, and other public uses. And I wasn't very endeared to this when we spoke weeks back, and I'm probably even less endeared to this right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Perrier. Mr. Jewell?
Thank you. I was thinking that I was going to take this ordinance and not legal, but I just wanted to put what I had here in writing, that I was requesting the council's support to purchase the property located at 15110 River Road in Hawnville, formerly the Family Dollar Store. This 1 acre property includes approximately 8,320 square foot building with parking as well. The parish currently owns adjacent property to the north and the east of this location, and the administration seeks to create a contiguous parcel extending from this location to our existing property line behind planning and zoning on the levee side of River Road. My administration's intermediate and long-term strategic vision is to centralize all administrative employees on this campus in Hawnville, the parish seat, with this property specifically designated to house Public Works Administration in the intermediate term. This plan will also include the addition of a permanent East Bank yard comparable to what we have currently on the West Bank. The benefits of this plan is that it allows us to consolidate operations into one campus, reducing the total number of buildings and creating a more convenient experience for residents who come to do business with St. Charles Parish government. We will continue to strategically position, of course, our field employees on both the east and west banks of the parish as they are currently situated. Your support of this is appreciated, and I can answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Jewell. Ms. Fonseca?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say that historically, whenever properties have become available, adjacent to the campus, which is what we have here, the administrations have done everything that they could to purchase those properties. Back in VJ St. Pierre's administration, we had the opportunity to purchase the property, which now the library owns and the dollar store sits on. And for whatever reason, it didn't happen. We didn't have the monies. Well, we do have the monies now. For future, we always try to purchase the adjacent properties because our needs change, our growth, it's always good to have it. So I'm in support of this, and I ask that you all support it as well. Thank you.
Mr. Jewell.
I just wanted to make a mention to the executive order. These are projects that we do not intend to complete in budget year 2024, and therefore would be backfilled in 2025, in the 2025 budget. So I didn't want there to be some sort of thought process here that we're eliminating something to do something else. That is not the case.
Ms. Wilson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess I just want to add, well, this is in my district, and I am in support of this, but, and I guess, the public may look at it as, we're having drainage issues here, well, definitely in the Hornville area, it may be in some other areas as well, but I do know, looking in the upcoming budget book, there are many items that are budgeted for drainage projects, so I am in support of this, item. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Wilson. Mr. Perrier.
I realize that, it looks as if the money's there. I agree. The optics of this doesn't look very good in the public. It just doesn't. And so, I would say that given where we are, this is something that sounds to me a lot like a want and not a need. And so for that reason, I can't support it. Thank you.
Mr. Jewell.
Yep, and I understand this is my third time speaking, so that's the last time. I know Michelle will karate chop me like she has in the past. This is the last thing I'll say on this is that, when you look at the parish and you look at our day-to-day operations, there's so much more that goes on than just drainage projects or anything else. And so when we're looking at kind of, I call it walking and chewing gum at the same time, we have to have a kind of a 50,000-foot view of everything and looking at the fact that there isn't any more property growing, around the courthouse here. It's a very limited, and the fact of the matter is we are a decentralized parish government. And when you look at a lot of other parishes, they have done the work to centralize their operations in one area. For us, that's the parish seat. And I'll give you the example of this property that could have been purchased in a previous administration. I don't remember the reasons, like Ms. Fonseca said, why it did not happen. But when the property did go to get purchased by the library, and understand that while the library used library funds to purchase it, the library cannot own property. The property is in St. Charles Parish's name. They had the opportunity of buying that property for $500,000. They ended up, because they didn't do it and came back later under this last administration to purchase the property, they ended up paying $625,000 for it. So it was kind of a loss for them to not do that. There is still another piece of property that is currently not for sale that we do not own in this would-be contiguous piece of property. But I think I have an obligation, looking at the strategic long-term vision of the parish, to at least attempt to get these and take advantage of these opportunities when we have them. As I said, this does not prohibit us from doing any future projects. That's the first discussion that I had with Grant. Of course, if we do not buy this property, I do have to make repairs to the existing property. I would rather, in the intermediate, and I should say that this change of the location for Public Works would not happen overnight. There are other dominoes in this equation that would have to take place before we could make that move. But there is work at our, off-site buildings that is required, that we will need to do if we don't move forward with this. That would also be costly.
Ms. O'Daniels.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. President Jewell, I just had a question for you about the East Bank. In your statement, you said that there's a permanent change to East Bank Yard. Could you tell us a little bit more about that, and how does that relate to this project?
Michelle, am I allowed to talk?
Can you?
If I'm asked a question? Okay, thank you. I will respond to the question. So We have a roughly 10-acre West Bank yard on the West Bank, and, of course, that's where we have our mechanic shop, we have our laydown yard, we have all of our storage of equipment. That's where our Public Works, field crew administration buildings are. We store sandbags, sandbagging machines, pipes, rocks, everything you can think of, it's all contained in one yard. On the East Bank, we actually have a very, very small yard that doesn't even contain all of our assets for the East Bank Public Works crews. So we have this yard at the front of New Sarpy, and then we have another laydown yard on West Harding. And so we have multiple properties that we have to maintain and insure and everything. And for the past year, we've been in talks with a couple of property owners in the immediate adjacent area of the East Bank Public Works Yard in an attempt to expand that. When we have the ability to expand that, things that are currently housed at the East Bank Administration Building, like our telemetry crew, we can build them a permanent facility and a slightly larger facility, which they need at that location. So it's really about providing a singular, comparable site to them. It's about trying to figure out a place to get David DeGeneres' crew out of a trailer across from the West Bank yard, to a more permanent facility. So these are kind of all the moving pieces that I'm thinking about in my head on a day-to-day basis as we try to position the parish to have a more permanent future and have, comparable offerings for both the East Bank and West Bank as far as public works and wastewater go.
Any other council discussion? I will tell you this, when I was approached on this, of course, Walter, I same thing with the executive order. Again, it's 2024 budget money. We have the culvert replacement in 2025's budget, and we can move money around. It's an excellent opportunity to increase the footprint of our campus. Like President Jewell said earlier, the good Lord's not making them own land. So if we can do that, we can get out of that building eventually on the East Bank, that's fine, and we can expand it. So I support it, and I hope the rest of you do too. Thank you. Please cast your votes for file number 2024-0331. All right.
I vote yea.
Ms. Fonseca, yay. Who else?
That's it.
Mr. Perrier?
He's on there.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
It's just me then.
It was just Ms. Fonseca? Okay. All right, so that motion passes with Mr. Perrier voting nay. All right. 2024-0332, an ordinance to approve a purchase or expropriate a .104 acre temporary construction servitude over a property now or formerly owned by Storehouse Lane Investments, LLC, for the Ormond Area Flood Mitigation, CN Railroad Culvert Installation Project, P200601. Mr. Bingham.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is one of the three, and there are two others to follow this, of the ordinances to acquire servitudes so that we can build the culvert project in Ormond. And we would appreciate your support.
Thank you, Mr. Bingham. File number 2024-0332 is now open for public hearing. If there's anyone like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. All right, seeing none, our public hearing is now closed. Council discussion, Mr. Perrier.
Ditto from the last discussion I had with the previous ordinance. Please support it. Thank you.
Complete agreement. It's going to affect drainage all along that CN Canal, so I guess support, and really good to see the public input on the emails. So I think that's something that we've all been lacking, so at least we're getting our message out on our projects, Mr. Bingham. So with no further council discussion, please cast your votes for file number 2024-0332.
I vote yea.
Ms. Fonseca is going to vote yea. That motion passes unanimously. Thank you. All right. 2024-0333, an order to approve a purchase and/or expropriate a .012 acre perpetual drainage servitude and a .078 acre temporary construction servitude over property now or formerly owned by ACSI Properties LLC for the Ormond Area Flood Mitigation CN Railroad Culvert Installation Project P200801. Mr. Bingham.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is the second one of those three that I was mentioning. One note on this is, part of this is a permanent servitude, where we will, where we have the drainage, actually the drainage culvert. And then another part of it is the part we need for building the project temporarily.
Thank you, Mr. Bingham. File number 2024-0333 is now open for public hearing. If anyone would like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, our public hearing is closed. Any council discussion? Mr. Pillier.
Not to sound superfluous, but I think that this one here is the most important of all of them because it has a sliver of property without this, you can't build the turning box. And this is really important to us, so I'd appreciate everybody's support. Obviously, I do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pillier. Any further council discussion? Seeing none, please cast your votes for file number 2024-0333. 3. We have a yea vote from Ms. Fonseca.
Yay.
Yay. Yay. Yay from Ms. O'Daniels, yay from Ms. Wilson, yay from Ms. Key. That's unanimous.
All right.
Oh, nobody got it on this one. It's got a mind of its own. Okay, 2024-0334 is an ordinance to approve a purchase and/or expropriate a .011 acre perpetual drainage servitude and a .062 acre temporary construction servitude over property now or formerly owned by Hill Heights Country Club Incorporated for the Ormond Area Flood Mitigation CN Railroad Culvert Installation Project P200801. Mr. Bingham.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is the third of those three that I mentioned. And again, this one has both a perpetual drainage servitude and a temporary construction servitude.
File number 2024-0334 is now open for public hearing. If there's anyone who'd like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, our public hearing is closed. Any council discussion? Mr. Pillier.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. This one, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Bingham, but this is for the two 54-inch culverts that would go across and across the CN tracks.
Yes, this is Site 2. Site 2.
Yeah, there's Site 1, Site 2 along the tracks, and there's 3, 4, and then there's 5, 6, and those haven't even been discussed. But these are all very important. This is the one that'll probably end up draining Ormond Oaks cul-de-sac. A very good piece of work. I appreciate your support.
Thank you, Mr. Pillier. Ms. O'Daniels.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have spent years watching this process, and I want to thank everyone that has been involved, Councilman Pillay, everyone else in the council, both past and present and future, because this has been going on for a long time. It's a struggle by these people living in this area. Like I said, people want to make fun of Turtle Pond living in a swamp. Well, Ormond was a swamp as well. So with these projects, I believe that everybody has a huge amount of hope that this area will be safe to live in and will, be less flood prone, I'd say. And I just think this is amazing, and I appreciate the citizens' commentary and their involvement through this entire process through the years.
Thank you, Ms. O'Daniels. Any further council discussion? All right, seeing none, please cast your votes for file number 2024-0334.
Yay.
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 Yay from Ms. O'Daniels. Yay from Ms. Wilson. Yay from Ms. Skiba. Yay for Miss Debbie. Oh, that worked. DeBrouillard, it worked out good. I voted yay.
Everything great.
And that passed unanimously. Thank y'all. All right, thank you for putting up with the voting system. All right, next on our agenda, persons to address the council. 2024-0340, Ms. Tanzia Robinson, civil source fees and position as a third party concerning constituents, property, real estate. Thank you for waiting.
Thank y'all for being able to listen to some of my concerns concerning Civic Source. Currently, Civic Source has 77 properties that someone from the parish authorized them to sell or auction off the property. My concern is there a limit on the fees amount that can be charged by Civic Source? One incident, the property tax is for adjudicated property. The property tax is $858, but Civic Source fees is $2,800. And also after the $2,800 in fees to Civic Source is paid, they still have to pay the parish $858 for the property tax. Even if the property is sold, they would still, the person who bought the property would still have to pay the parish $858. Civic Source is starting the auction at $6,085. The property, 77 properties, the property is not even worth that. But my concern is what part of these fees is the parish getting versus the $6,800 Civic Source is charging themselves. So I guess my question is, who authorized Civic Source, and is there a limit on or a cap on what the fees can be charged?
Ms. Robinson, it's gonna kind of go into a definite thing. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna ask Mr. Albert to set up a meeting with you so that you can come with him and go through it, because Civic Source is done by an ordinance, and I'm sure we have a contract with them, and I'm sure he can answer those questions and give you more specifics on it.
Okay.
So if we could do that, if you could leave your information with Mr. Albert, and he could get something set up, and you could get all those questions done. I don't have readily available in front of me tonight the Civic Source property listings and stuff, but I think the Department of Planning and Zoning can help you out with that.
Okay, and will I be able to get the information on the contract with Civic Source and the parish, all that information?
Go ahead, what you do is just put all your requests in for Mr. Albert, and if he can't do something, then he'll address it to me or the parish president, we'll see what we can do for you.
Okay, thank you.
All righty, thank you for coming in tonight, dear.
You're welcome.
All right, meetings, announcements, notices, et cetera. Civil Service Board, Tuesday, October 28th, 2024, 6:30 PM in the council chambers. The Housing Authority, Tuesday, October 29th, 2024, at 6 PM in the council chambers. The Hospital Service District Number 1, Wednesday, October 30th, 2024, at 2 PM in the council chambers. The St. Charles Parish Council, Monday, November 4th, 2024, at 6 PM in the council chambers. Public hearings to consider the proposed 2025 capital and consolidated operating budget, Tuesday, October 29th, 2024, at 9 AM, Thursday, October 31st, 2024, at 1 PM, and Monday, November 4th, 2024, at 6 PM. Important dates for the November 5th, 2024 election. Early voting, Monday, October 28th, Tuesday, October 29th, 2024, will be closed October 27th, 2024. The times will be 8:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. on the West Bank, the courthouse, 15045 River Road, Honville. The East Bank, the Auterbury Building, 14564 River Road in New Sarpy. Monday, November 4th, 2024, the last day to request absentee by mail ballots. Monday, November 4th, 2024, the last day for register to receive voted absentee ballots. Tuesday, November 5th, 2024, is Election Day. The polls will be open 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. The important dates for the December 7th, 2024 election. Wednesday, November 6, 2024 is the last day to register to vote in person or by mail. Saturday, November 16, 2024, the last day to register to vote online at govote.com. Early voting, Friday, November 22nd, 2024, and Saturday, November 23rd, 2024. Monday, November 25th to Wednesday, November 27th, 2024. Saturday, November 30th, 2024. It will be closed on Sunday, November 24th, 2024. Our time will be 8:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. The West Bank will be at the courthouse, 15045 River Road in Hanville. The East Bank will be the Auterbury Building, 15564 River Road in New Sarpy. Tuesday, December 3rd, 2024, is the last day to request absentee by mail ballots. Friday, December 6th, 2024, is the last day for register to receive voted absentee ballot. And Saturday, December 7th, 2024, is Election Day. The polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. I need a motion and a second to adjourn. I have a motion by Mr. Bruyere, second by Ms. Skiba. Please cast your votes to adjourn. Ms. Fonseca votes yea, and that motion passes unanimously. Thank y'all. We are officially adjourned.